The more I look at it, the more I think that I can get... Wow, I'm really glowing. Crap. Is there a way to do pro settings on here? Okay, that's better. There we go. So at this point I need to spend a few minutes cleaning out the hole so that I can put the car into it and not have it in the way of cars that I'm actually going to be driving while I put it on a 700-pound diet. I don't know whether... It's definitely appropriate at this point to quote a famous British motorsports gentleman named Colin. The only question is whether it's more appropriate to quote Colin McRae, saying that horsepower makes you faster in the straights, but lightness makes you fast everywhere. Or maybe a little closer to my heart, Colin Chapman, he of Lotus fame, simplify, then add lightness. Hopefully that's what we're about to do. It occurs to me that the back seat is probably going to be the biggest bang for the buck, the most amount of weight I can get rid of very quickly, so that's probably a really good place to start, and I'll be all proud of myself for that.
Ooh, tell me I'm the one you really like. You feel so good, I swear that I might die in the night.
Yes, we've had an unfortunate incident involving alcohol abuse, namely that I partially spilled my beer. Well, no sense crying in that.
Ooh, touch me and I think I wanna stay in your arms. Might let you break my heart, light me up, yeah, I'm so into you. The things I would do. Got me up, I'm higher than the clouds. Drunk on ice, no, I'm not coming down.
One of the things that you almost always see is proper safety gear, because I have no intentions of ending up in the ER with shit in my eyes.
It's all about know your energy. If heaven is a place, then it's in your eyes. Wanna live, love you till the end of time. Like the way your hands are tracing me. Can't deny it's all about know your ecstasy. If heaven is a place, then it's in your eyes. Wanna live, love you till the end of time. Only you and
All right, subwoofer, 17 pounds. Another thing that I did not expect to discover is that these seats appear to be bolted on pretty tightly. A lot of seats just, you pick them up and they're expected to be held in by the seat belts in a case of a crash, but these are actually locked in pretty tight. Well, here's some extra weight that I didn't expect to find. Got these out of the seat back pocket there, as well as new car scent air freshener.
like the way your hands are tracing me. Can't deny it's all about know your ecstasy. If heaven is a place, then it's in your eyes. Wanna love you till the end of time.
This is going to save my carpal tunnel so much agony.
If heaven is a place, then it's in your eyes.
It turns out that this right here is the optimum angle to get that bit in there to release those nuts. Bolts, whatever. The things that keep it together. And indeed, it is awkward. I don't know how I would actually do this with a non-powered ratchet because it's just such an awkward angle. So even though the scale will actually measure down to 16.5 pounds, it won't start measuring unless you break a certain point. So I had to kind of push down on that to give it some force. And it turns out that the next step in seat removal involves a Torx 50 bit, which I have. Unfortunately, I only have it in 3/8 drive, and my breaker bar is not long enough to get the torque I need, so it looks like I'm going to have to go get some impact-rated Torx bits. So Fun. You figure the next thing to do is take off the battery and let this sit because I want to take out the airbags, and I don't know how long I'm going to have to let this sit to accomplish that safely.
Looking for a star to guide, pushing through the darkness of the night. Hold your hand up to your heart. I know it's just a chance to start. I know that it might feel like it's too hard.
Well, I partially subsidized my purchase with all this change. It's kind of funny how sometimes people will talk about how older cars are so much better than newer cars. But if you think about it, I mean, this Focus was an economy car, basically, as the most expensive version of it, but it was not meant to be luxury at all. And yet, it is chock full of sound deadening stuff that you have never found in an economy car 40, 50 years ago. Now, there are disadvantages to modern car styling, sometimes, but not always.
Pulling down the walls we cross, fighting through the walls.
I have to admit that there is something very freeing about working in a car in a manner that you don't give a shit if you break things. Alright, now we can do some real damage.
Just know that love is wherever you are.
I had previously thought that I was going to have to bring down the rotary tool to attack this stuck bolt, but it looks like I have an angle where I can actually attack it with the angle grinder, is the word that I'm looking for. So hopefully that'll go a little bit quicker than attacking it with a rotary tool. And you're probably wondering, why am I calling it a rotary tool instead of the brand name that every single human being in the world uses and I myself would use off camera? And the answer is, they're not sponsoring me.
This whole world doesn't see. Someday we could all be free. Could change the world if we would just believe. 'Cause faith and love is all you need. This whole world doesn't see.
So my favorite part of this particular evolution is the part where I'm shooting sparks from the angle grinder directly into the upholstery, which is awesome and totally not going to cause any fire. But at least that's something. And now, this bolt is somebody else's problem to deal with.
Yep, that's all I got.
42.2. Okay, so that brings us up to roughly, not quite 80 pounds, like 75. Alright, so apparently just getting that thing out of the way allowed me to get a better angle with better torque, and I didn't have to drill this motherfucker out. Of course, will I actually get it to separate from the bit? That's a good question, but it was worth it. Maybe. Son of a bitch. Oh, there we go. Maybe. Aha! Fuck you, Bolt. Of course, one of the fun things about cars is you never know what you're gonna need. One moment you've got a, half-inch impact driver rated for 1,200 pound-feet of loosening torque, taking out bolts that are this long and that big around. And the next thing you know, you're pulling out your tiniest screwdriver because that's what's holding in the oh shit bars. Or alternately, my teeny tiny little screwdriver doesn't have enough torque to do what it needs to do. And of course the next size up is slightly too large to fit down in that there's basically a tunnel to get to the clip. So I'm thinking that I may just have to go from above and just break shit. Not putting it back. I honestly don't know how that's supposed to have worked. Okay, brute force it is. Well, now that I get in here, I'm discovering some very interesting things. This sort of vaguely looks like some sort of weep hole. In fact, it's made of the same tubing as the rest of them, but it doesn't quite connect to this corner of the sunroof. The sunroof actually has them at all four corners, which is interesting. I wasn't expecting that thorough. I found this electrical connector under the headliner, and it seemed to be coming up sort of this direction-ish, but this is clearly the sunroof motor, and this is clearly something else that is not matching up to these. So now I'm kind of curious what everything connected to originally and what these were. All right, couple day break there while I went out of town and relaxed a bit. I made an appointment to get the R134 recovered out of here so that I can take off the AC bits, and at the same time put the catalytic converter back on, because under ARA rules you have to have a cat if the car came with a cat, and this came with a cat, so I get to put it back on, and hopefully it will sound less ricery at that point, and I won't feel as disdainful about my own vehicle. In the meantime, I have had the battery cable disconnected for more than a week, I think. So I should be able to work on the airbags safely, but I'm going to nevertheless move the tripod into the car so that if that does go off, you can laugh hysterically as I get my face abraded by the airbag. And if that doesn't go off, then so much the better, because I don't like broken noses. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to have to put the battery back to it later so that I can get this car down there a week from Thursday, I guess. So should be easy enough. Dipshit, remember that when you said that, you put some video on your phone.